Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to this week's Alley Talk here on Philly Sports Network. Of course, I am your host, Kyle Fisher, joined by my astute colleague, Alec Costaval. Nice to have you back on the pod, my friend. How you doing today?
Always happy to be here, Kyle. I'm doing all right. Can't complain. It's middle of November at this point, and the stove is just heating up, and something tells me we're going to talk about it.
Oh, yeah, my friend. Yes. It doesn't matter how chilly the temp gets. The stove is always hot come November. Phillies, some interesting names out there being linked to them. A guy who was linked to them at the trade deadline who didn't want to waive his no trade clause may have changed his mind. And of course, what can they do to add some thump behind Bryce Harper? We're going to talk about all of it. First, Alec, it is nice to see you on here. We saw each other in person yesterday to welcome the big boss man, Philly Sports Network's own, the owner, the head honcho, whatever you want to call him, Liam Jenkins, UK's finest, here in person in Philly for the first time in his life. It was great to get together. Great to see everybody. We have to do it one more time because I got to get my book signed. It's actually not up there right now because I brought it down to get it signed and then missed Matt. So I figured we'll do it again. But good to see you in person. And, we're recovering from a late night out at Dave and Buster's, but the Phillies have been at this thing since the moment the World Series ended. They've been having their conversations. Dombrowski ready to go. The big one right now, I think that the biggest talking point that I've seen in the past week is kind of an extension of what we first heard when the Phillies reached the offseason. It really seemed like revamping the outfield was the obvious place to start if you wanted to change this team's makeup or the way that they looked a little bit. Obviously, knowing that you have your center fielder that you traded for at the deadline headed to free agency, you're unsure what they want to do with Johan Rojas. Rumors have it from Matt Gelb and others that they have been shopping Rojas in trade talks as of late. It seems like all but guaranteed that Nick Castellanos will not be on this roster next year. And you're basically left with Brandon Marsh in the outfield and hoping to figure the rest of it out. So, Alec, first off, how do you feel about the decision? It was kind of assumed, but the decision for Bader to walk away from his part of the mutual option, accept that buyout. The Phillies seeming connection to him still. They seem inclined to bring him back if he is so inclined as well. Their willingness to move on from Nick and whatever else is going around going on around the outfield situation in Philadelphia before we get into the specifics of who they might target.
So, yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, aren't there? This is going to be an interesting offseason for the Phillies. Everybody has talked about it, what they should do, what they're going to do. Who knows what they're going to do at this point. A lot on the table here. The outfield is kind of the easiest to shuffle. The only problem is it doesn't seem like there is a ton out there, at least on the free agent market. We'll get into some, trade market things in a little bit, but there doesn't seem to be an obvious answer. Now, we had the whole Harrison Bader post where he said, pretty much a thank you to Philly. It seemed like he enjoyed his time here, really made the most of it. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back. I could see why there'd be mutual interest. He's a right-handed bat. There's not many of those in the outfield. He did well here. His personality did seem to mesh very well. The whole clubhouse seemed to love him. He had multiple T-shirts made out of him, for Christ's sake. It does make sense, and his defense in center field is excellent. I've never really seen a center fielder with instinct like his, at least since like Shane Victorino. Like, he was right on the money. He might have been a little bit aggressive on his throws that, once in a while let him into trouble. But other than that, amazing defense in center field, which really love. So he's almost like the safe option. And him declining the part of his part of the mutual deal, everybody expected that. It was only a little over 10 million or around 10 million, something like that. I'd assume he's at least going to get a 2-year with a little bit more money than that out on the market. So it just makes sense. Now, if they bring him back, I think they can bring him back. I think if they can easily fit him back in, I don't think that's a problem. The thing is, this seems to be an offseason where the Phillies can go two ways. They can play it safe, or they can get a little risky. And I think it's almost to the point where this core has been together enough where I think they need to get a little risky. That's not saying don't bring back Schwarber, don't try to bring back JT. No, that's not what I'm saying. But in terms of the kind of player they might pursue otherwise, it might need to come with a little bit of risk and see if it works out.
Yeah, there's definitely some people out there who would be risky. I think before we even get to the outside candidate, you start with the presumed in-house representative of the outfield next year, in Justin Crawford. And there are things to worry about in his game. I think that the reason that there seems to be such a push for him to be on the major league roster next year is because he's done all you can do in the minors, right? Outside of toil and struggle in the minors, he's done everything else, right? He hit 337, won a batting title last year, plenty of speed, great athleticism in the outfield, good instincts, but his mechanics, because he's not a natural center fielder, might still be something that needs to be worked on. They seem comfortable enough, according to Dombrowski's recent comments, with him being in center field, although it seemed like they preferred him to be prepared to play a corner if needed. Even before the Harrison Bader trade, they seemed comfortable with him being in left and then putting Marsh in center. And again, both of those guys seemingly having a little bit less than the perfect fit in center field. Last week I was off. The week prior, we had John Fisher, a sports researcher, on, my brother, and he mentioned, when he watched Harrison Bader play center field, he's like, oh, that's what a center fielder's supposed to do in the outfield. It's one of those, like, Marsh was fine. He was serviceable. You had years of Ben Revere where it was like, yeah, he's good. Maybe he's missing a step.
Well,
here
one of the
there.
weakest arms I've ever seen.
Right. But it was kind of like for the last decade plus, the Phillies had great athletes in center field who they hoped could fill the role, not a true glove first, instinct first defensive center fielder. And that's what Harrison Bader brought to this team, especially when you had lesser options like Nick Castellanos playing in right field defensively. He helped make up for some of the deficiencies that they had elsewhere on that defense. And at some point, your best defensive lineup became Brandon Marsh, Max Kepler, and Harrison Bader out in the outfield together. Max Kepler, another guy who's not going to return, right? So you're losing at least two guys and could potentially be making other moves. We mentioned the risk internally, whether you go with Justin Crawford, an unproven commodity who doesn't hit the ball in the air, puts a lot of balls on the ground, and you're not sure if he's the perfect fit in center field. Well, there is a guy out there who was rumored heavily at the trade deadline, but decided to stay put for the sake of his family, who now reports are that he could be open to being moved, especially in the offseason, and that is multi-time All-Star Byron Buxton. So I'm not sure how you feel about Buxton's game overall. Last season, coming off of the healthiest campaign he's experienced, and still, I believe, only played around 120 games. There's a lot of risk there, obviously, with the injury history. But he would suddenly be a guy who plays elite defense in center field and would not be the focal point of an offense for the first time in a long time after being in Minnesota for so long. Is that risk known? Is that a move that you could see the Phillies going to make, adding another big contract via trade instead of signing one of the big available guys?
Well, you say big contract. He's, I think, signed with a 7-year, $100 million extension is what he had. Like,
I'm
it's
gonna
not
confirm for you while you talk.
It is not a bad contract, but that contract reflects the risk that he does present on the injury front. I think he's a great fit, but I think you're going to have to temper expectations about how much he's actually playing. That's not to say that he's going to be injured the entire time, but you cannot have him run out and having like a long playing 100 straight games, anything like that. He's not going to do it. But I think there is a happy middle ground here to work both, say, Crawford and a Buxton in together. If they're not fully confident in Crawford in center field, you can use him in center field, let's say it twice a week. Give Buxton either a breath at DH or put him in a corner. I'm sure just getting him out of a demanding position like center field for a breath, I think is going to be a big part of managing Byron Buxton. It's kind of like, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes at this. It's going to be like load management with like Joel Embiid
Yeah,
with
that's a good
Byron
way to put it,
Buxton.
though. Yeah.
Like, his potential is one of the best players in the league. I
Right.
remember when he was a prospect back, I think he was 2012, 2013. I think he was number one overall on pretty much every list because he's a freak athlete. He's got all the tools you could want out of a center fielder. Good defense, good speed, good pop, good contact. Everything's there. It's just, can he, for the first time in his career, put together a significant stretch of health? And what I was alluding to before was that risk. This would be a risky move. It is a roll of the dice. But if it pays off, the Phillies just added someone to the middle of their lineup that they could bet their bippy on that's going to contribute. So,
Yeah, man,
this is the moves that you have to, the kind of moves that you have to consider right now, because there is no simple answer to fixing the Phillies. They're not going to spend a ton more money, maybe a little bit more, but not a ton more. And they're not going to kill all their prospects and sacrifice them to some all-star. Because with a guy like Buxton, if you take on that contract, I think there's ways to manage a trade. I don't think there's an issue there. But yeah, if they can pull it off, I think they should.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. People want them to make sweeping moves, but then we have and we love Roddy Zod here. We love Alex, but he's right away. Great. Here it is, great talent, but the risk is too much. He's only played 100+ games 3 times in his career now. 2 of them are the last 2 seasons, but it was like 102 and 120. If you're trading for this guy, I think he has about 3 years. If we're looking at the cash left on the deal, not the average annual value, it's 3 years, like 15 mil a season. Well, these are the types of moves and types of risks that the team needs to make when they know that they can't necessarily go out and re-sign Kyle Schwarber, re-sign JT, and then go sign Kyle Tucker, or then go sign Alex Bregman, right? Like they've come out and said we're not going to have a payroll near $400 million, and right now, without adding anybody or considering arbitration bonuses, they're already at $180 million. That's not including any arbitration numbers that are going to go up. That's not including any new contracts. That's not including the JT money. That's not including the money you're going to have to eat on Nick Castellanos. It's not
Schwarber.
It's not considering the $35 million you're going to have to give to Schwarber a year. Like,
it's
those things are going to, like, those things will add up very quickly. And I anticipate them bringing back Schwarber and Real Muto. I think Ranger's gone, but I think those two are coming back. And from there, you need to figure out, okay, do we trust that Harrison Bader is worth it, and he's going to suddenly find his prime years at age 31, 32, right? He's coming off the best offensive season of his career. It's rare for someone to have their best offensive season at 31. It's not unheard of, but you're getting him knowing that, like, my assumption is you're bringing in him to stabilize the outfield, to give you another bat behind Bryce Harper, but he's not going to hit 4. He's not the guy who's going to protect Bryce. He's a guy who adds to your team, but if you can make a move like Byron Buxton is a 4, that's what I'm saying.
He could.
Right? So those are the things you have to weigh. And if you're going to pay 12 to 15 for Harrison Bader, are you willing to pay a similar amount plus a few prospects to bring in Byron Buxton? And I think that it might be worth it. But like you said, there's risk. They're going to have to keep Justin Crawford fresh in center when they can, because you're going to need to have some time. Maybe almost after 1 year, stuff him in a corner, right? And hope that Crawford figures it out. You're going to have to keep a guy like Johan Rojas to be that defensive replacement, to get guys off of their feet more often. Like, those are things that are going to have to be considered. If you're bringing back Kyle Schwarber, can you afford to put Schwarber out in left some days and give Buxton that extra day off, like they've attempted to do
once a week at most? I don't think it would hurt that much. He did look a lot healthier on his legs this year than he had when he was last a left fielder full time.
But do you want to risk that putting him out there more often will slow that down, right? That's kind of
what I'm saying
risk
is I'm fine with once a week.
Yeah.
Once a week would be fine. because I don't think there's much risk there to do that. Going into there's one other risky player that I want to bring up.
Okay.
That has been
Let's hear about it.
rumored to be wanted to be traded by their team, Ketel Marte.
Ooh, Ketel Marte. Yes,
Ketel
sir.
Marte is a multi-time All-Star that apparently the Diamondbacks want to get rid of because of something about like not wanting to get time off, stuff like that. There's some sort of headbutting in Arizona. But this is a really talented bat-to-ball guy that has even been in MVP races in the past couple years. The contract's not bad, but it is a little bit of a larger contract. But this is a guy that used to play center field.
I was going to say he
I'm
can
not
go out there if you
saying
need him to.
I'm not saying that they should get him to play in center field, but why not try to trade for him, and play him in left? See if the Diamondbacks have any interest in Brandon Marsh. I think Brandon Marsh has still enough ability that he can be an everyday outfielder. Maybe you give him a day off against a tough lefty, but he is an everyday quarter outfielder. He has some good bat-to-ball skills, and he really showed great improvement when he came back, like May onwards this year.
For sure.
Was an
He was one of
excellent
the best
player
hitters on the Phillies.
So I couldn't see the Diamondbacks not having a little bit of interest there and really making a really great outfield for themselves. But Marte is a bona fide hitter. He's a guy that's been around for, I would say, an elite bat for the last 3 years. He's hit at least 276, and that's 276 was 2023, 292 in 24, 283 this year. He is an over
that's 2 years with a slug over 500 too. That's
and an OPS over 844. 3 years in a row. That's excellent. And if he's played passable center field before, I couldn't see a transition to, say, left field being an issue. And then all of a sudden, you have some cushion in case you need to replace a Bryson Stott.
Yes.
Because this is a guy that
could be included in the deal, in theory.
In theory, yes, you could. And the Diamondbacks have liked players like Stott in the past. I can't remember the name of the Gold Glove shortstop that they used to run out there. Couple years back, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But I think there's a matchup here on the trade market that just kind of makes sense. And then you're getting a guy that's I would say at least a 20 home run guy. Arizona is, I believe, a little bit higher elevation, and maybe that affects a little bit. Their ballpark is very homer friendly. So I think we're talking about a 25 home run plus guy here, and a guy that's going to get you like 150 hits a season, at least. And that's just saying because he's not going to play probably over 150 games.
Yeah, I mean, he's an interesting one. I think that one of the things that I've tried to envision is like if they were to strike out on any of the potential outfielders, whether it be a true outfielder like Buxton or someone who's played there before in Marte, or even if they didn't feel comfortable putting Marte out there, would they feel comfortable? And I know he just had the best defensive season of his career, but would it be time now to do the same thing with Trey Turner, right? If you can't bring back certain guys, do you go with Trey Turner being pushed out to the outfield? If you even let's just say that the Marte trade, right? If they feel like, hey, he's damn good at second base, let's keep him where he's most comfortable. Slide Stott over to shortstop and push Trey to either center or left. And all of a sudden, one of your biggest issues, a right-handed bat in the outfield, is solved without having to go get an outfielder. And the reason that's an important point, and I'll let you respond in a second, Alex, is we've talked about how the need for a right-handed bat has been present on this team for a long time. Even when they had Nick Castellanos performing better than he did this past season, Matt Gell brought up something on The Athletic about that exact, what the outfield situation is going to be. And he talked about last season, there were only 26 players in the majors who hit right-handed, played at least 60% of their games in the outfield and accrued 400 plate appearances. So you're talking about like a platoon plus guy in the outfield. There was only 26 who were right-handed in the entire league. And at the end of the season, 2 of them were on the Phillies roster. And we're talking about revamping that exact position. Harrison Bader and Nick Castellanos are 2 of the only 26 guys who are available. That is the fewest in a non-shortened season in the MLB since 1968, and the league only had 20 teams back then. Comment from Johnny. Again, shout out from the comment earlier, but that's not even 1 per team. It's 26 people, and 2 of them were on one roster. Like, it's just, for whatever reason, there aren't that many right-handed hitting outfield options available, and that's where the creativity comes into play, right? That's where what kind of risk are we willing to accept comes into play. And that's why we're talking about this, because it's not just, they need another bat in the outfield. It's like, yeah, but where are they going to find it? And that becomes a much bigger challenge to me than just simply, can they pay the right guy?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the Trey Turner question, I think that's more of a 2027 thing. But this is what they can do in the meantime. I think they can do what they did with like Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto in spring training this year. That you saw JT Realmuto in the outfield taking drills. And it was a funny thought that nobody thought there was a chance in the world. But the more realistic was Kyle Schwarber at first base, who actually appeared at first base in-game in spring training. I think you could do a similar thing with Trey Turner this year in center field in spring training. I think you need to give him time to adjust. It was only just this year that they finally started fixing issues with his infield work, that the Phillies infield coach, I forget his name off the top of my head, he was talking about, if I had gotten hands on this kid 5, 6, 7 years ago, these are issues that could have been easily fixed. But just as an older player, it was harder to get him to, what his first step was, where he was going, the instincts. He had to basically put in the work to change his way of thinking about fielding at the shortstop position. And I really don't want to throw that work away, especially after the year he had at shortstop in 2025. He was excellent. Everybody thought by April, it was like, what are we going to do with Trey Turner? Trey Turner was a mess. It seemed like it, but he put in the work. He got those mental changes on where to go first step as a shortstop, and it made a world of difference. It really did. And I want you to pull up the Roddy Zod comment right here.
Oh, I thought you meant this one. Sorry. Yeah, we'll touch on this one real quick, and then I'll bring up the Roddy one. So this is do you want to make that move when he falls on his face at shortstop again, or do you want to do it before he falls flat on his face at shortstop again? And I think that the follow-up comment here from John, doing it at the start of the season instead of feeling like, oh man, we got to pull the plug on this because he struggled so hard. That's the key for me, is like, I would rather tell him right now, or as soon as a deal is made for an infielder, hey man, you're going to go to the outfield, go get that working in the offseason. And then let's bring up that Roddy Zod comment too.
Yeah, and I think that's a good comment of mentioning the hamstring. Granted, it was 2 separate hamstrings. It was his left leg, I think left leg in 2024. It was the right leg in 2025, or vice versa. But it wasn't the same hamstring injury. But you still see that happening, and he's going to be on his legs running a lot more in center field than at shortstop. And I do think there might be a little something there. And going off of Johnny's comments, and it has to be at the beginning of the season. That's what I'm saying. Start in spring training this year. But I don't think you go and throw him into that opening day of 26. I think if you're going to do that, that becomes 27. And then guess what? You have an open spot for Aiden Miller, who is rising on prospect lists and seems to be one of the more exciting position player prospects the Phillies have had in a very long time. And defensively, excellent at shortstop. He's shown that, and scouts agree, and that's why he has not moved off of shortstop, because shortstop is more valuable than a third base prospect or a second base prospect. So it just makes sense. In that in the timeline transition, I think 2027 is just more realistic.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, there's options, right? There's options. He's played center field before. The grade was that it was slightly below average, but he also graded as a below average shortstop and suddenly was one of the best shortstops in the league last year. So I think with a full off season of work at the position and a focus like he had, learning to get better at the position he's played his entire career, I could see it working out. Maybe it's a better suited in left field, so you're not running as much. You know, I hate to go back to this, but like when I watched Pat Burrell and Kyle Schwarber play left field, I'm not too worried about Trey Turner's hamstring because those guys did it for years and didn't run all that much, right? So like,
but I also think the value is more in center field on a move. I think if you're then doing left field, I think you just look at second base.
For some reason, I just don't think they're going to switch the two. I don't think you're going to see Stott go to short.
But I'm saying Miller
second, even though I think
these are 2027.
Oh yeah, you're talking down the road. Okay, yeah. I could see Aiden. Maybe he goes there
because
Aiden
Stott
Miller, depending what happens with Stott. But
if Stott has a down year, I could see a non-tender.
Yeah, if he hits like he did the last two seasons combined,
if he hits what he did the last 2 months that he was fairly hot this season.
Yeah, if he does that over a whole season, like his rookie year, that's a little different. But
not rookie year. 2023 was when he was
it his
really solid. Yeah,
season where they thought he was the leadoff hitter of the future.
Ruben Amaro Jr. definitely did.
Yeah, he still does. He's still banging that drum.
God bless him.
Shout out the Phillies show. We love
Shout
those guys.
out the Phillies show.
But yeah, so it's the interesting thing for me is the outfield, right? We can talk about it. If you were waiting for the episode ahead of time, you did see in the thumbnail, we did have a guy who has a long resume of being a successful hitter in the postseason, and also kind of had what felt like a rejuvenated season in Boston last year, and that's one Alex Bregman. So I want to touch on him briefly. He's not an outfielder, although I'm sure if you put him out in left field, he'd do just fine. He would be a third baseman, and this is where, again, the creativity comes in. These are things that the Phillies front office is going to have to do all off season long, rather, is think outside the box a little bit. Okay, who needs a third baseman that's not in the Alex Bregman market? Can we flip Bohm to them for something else, or Bohm and something for something else? So one of the things I thought of even was like if they decide that they target Bregman and Bregman likes Philly, prefers Philly over Boston. Well, now Boston needs a third baseman. And they have a plethora of outfielders, and the Phillies need outfielders. Can you do a Bohm plus for Duran from Boston, bring him down, and then sign Alex Bregman? You have to get really creative with the cap in that sort of situation. But what are your thoughts on Bregman, and do you think he would be a difference maker for this team? Obviously, knowing that you would be saying goodbye to Alec Bohm in the process.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think the money that he is looking for will be worth it at his age. I just don't think he's that much of a better player than Alec Bohm at the age and at the money. That's what I mean. He's obviously a better player overall.
Elite defensively.
But he's going to want like 35, 40 million a year. He just turned down 40 million a year to opt out.
That was like the most.
So yes, it was a 3-year contract.
It's like the fakest contract. It was set up to be a 1-year deal and revisit
he's going to want the free 30 plus a year.
Yeah.
He's going to want that at least. And then I don't think he has the power that he used to when he was young in his career that you can really say, yeah, this is so much better than Bohm at third base. I personally don't see it because he's going to want way too much money. You're telling me he's worth 3 Alec Bohms?
I don't know if I'm saying that, but I'm saying he's a Gold Glover and a Silver Slugger at a position where you typically want a little bit more power and you're not getting it right now.
Yes.
Now, the one thing I will say is that the best version of Alex Bregman's game offensively is essentially what Alec Bohm gives you at his best, right? He hit 44 doubles with with about 15 homers 2 seasons ago. That's what you would want to see from Alex Bregman anyway.
Yeah, it's
The
basically
question
trading
is,
off 10 homers for 10 doubles.
yeah, the question becomes, do you want that trade-off to improve defensively? And on the flip side, whether they've been very cautious about how they've handled this part of the conversation, but there's been a kind of a sneaky creeping conversation of Alec Boehm being kind of in his head a little too much, and the Phillies being worried about that the last couple of years. It kind of was overshadowed by other conversations around the Phillies. But that's a guy, if you're concerned that he's in his head in the biggest moments, even though he's been a clutch player during the regular season in the past, and there's this guy out there who is friends with your superstar, who has won World Series, who is considered one of the best leaders in the league, to me, that's a guy you have to target and be willing to think about, especially if you can't make those upgrades in the outfield. Like
one last quick point. Bregman will be 32. This is his age 32 season. And you want to lock him in for 5 years at third base? I think that's a much worse risk than an injury risk, because time comes from everyone. Time comes for everyone.
That's fair.
That's fair. There is no beating time. But you can beat a guy who might have problems in a clubhouse. You can beat a guy who has some injury history.
Let's be very clear. We're not beating anyone. We're working our way through those challenges.
Well, I'm not saying we're beating anyone, but you got to beat something.
I know. I'm messing around. But like you said, it's something that Father Time is undefeated. It's a challenge that you have to work through. The Phillies are going to have a challenging offseason, which is weird for a team that has won multiple division titles. We're about halfway through the episode, so I just want to take a moment. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Alley Talk here on Philly Sports Network. Back to your ear holes and your eye holes on Fridays at 2 p.m. Another guy who I know personally, Alec, who is undefeated at the moment. The guy is churning out banger after banger after banger. If you're not familiar, if you don't know, well, you're about to, because joining us right now on the show, the host of SportsTown and my personal friend, Dan Koob. Dan, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you feeling today on this chilly Philly Friday?
Kyle, your intros are, dare I say, becoming Kelsey-esque. And
I'm working on it.
It's a real honor and pleasure to be here with you guys, Alec and Kyle. Phillies, interesting decisions coming up, right? Bregman, 5 years plus. I mean, that sounds like a classic Middleton Phillies mistake. We've only got 7 or 6 more years of Harper and 7 more years of Turner. So why not? I saw somebody in the comments was like, why don't you just trade Trey Turner? Yeah, why don't we just go discover plutonium and just why don't we just go do that? Easier said than done.
I love it. Dan, before we get into the show, because I'm really excited to have you on, for those of you who don't know, Dan Koob is the host of a show on YouTube called SportsTown, the quest to find the best sports city in America. They introduced a few new features, a few new things to help score the town scale. We'll get into all that in a moment. New sponsors on board, exciting times. But the most exciting part about SportsTown to me right now is not only is it built by 4 best friends from college, it has started to expand to everybody that they know. They are all Philly guys, all Temple made, and they finally, in episode 3, got to release a Philly episode. It doesn't get much more exciting than 4 dudes from Philly talking about Philly and talking about the real Philly, the heart and soul of Philly. So I have plenty of notes here and plenty of questions for you, but I sent the video to my guy, Alec. Alec was a last-minute addition to the show today. So, Alec, I want to give you an opportunity to talk to Dan, your first impressions of the Philly episode, what you're thinking, and then we'll get into more specifics.
Hey, Dan, just want to say welcome in. I think I checked out the video. Great job. I thought editing was fantastic on that. I think your team is great at what they do. But the thing I want to mention the most, what was something that you wanted to showcase in Philly that you didn't quite have the opportunity to in this video? Because there is so much to do. We're one of the largest city in one of the largest countries in the world.
Yeah, that's one of the things you always have to balance when you make these shows, Alec, too. And yes, we have the most talented team in the world, in my opinion. I am the least talented person on this team. All I have to do is show up, and if it's at a tailgate, I drink or I eat or I ask questions to people, and that's the extent of my job. It's tough to say. We felt a little bit of pressure coming into this episode only because typically we go to places we're not from. So like we are viewing those places through the lens of a tourist who is finding out about it for the first time. And this one obviously was very different because we're all from here. We all went to Temple. Most of the guys have lived in Philly since college. I moved around for about 10 years and then came back. So it was kind of a balancing act of trying to figure out where do we go to showcase that we are from Philly. So if you watched it, you would recognize that. But then, sorry.
No, you're good.
That is the Kansas City. I don't know if you heard that through my mic. That was
I didn't.
Great. I'm editing our Kansas City episode, which comes out December 1st, and it just finished rendering. So that's why I was talking to myself for a second there. So we really wanted to try to find that balance that would say, like, if you were from Philly, you would recognize we are from here. And if you were not from Philly, you were still seeing things that you otherwise wouldn't have seen because we didn't want to just play the hits. Like, we didn't want to go up the Rocky Steps. We didn't want to go get a cheesesteak at a place that like kind of sucks, but like it's known nationally, like who we're talking about. We didn't want to like praise fake boxers. I have like a real Rocky issue. I know that's like kind of controversial. Like we are the home of Joe Frazier. We are the home of Bernard Hopkins, actual heavyweight champions of the world. And we like love a fake boxer. So like we really didn't want to go into the Rocky thing at all. And I think if you watch it, you're going to recognize that, hey, like these guys clearly are from here. They know what's up. And if you haven't seen it, you're going to say, oh, great, I actually learned a couple things.
Dude, it's funny. One of my favorite things leading up to the episode was the teaser that you did about how we're not going to do the Rocky Steps. If you're from Philly, everybody knows that you got to order from Mr. Softy. What's up? Dude, like I was cracking up, and it just, again, knowing you guys personally just screamed that humor that I know that you guys bring to the table and to the workplace every single day.
I have a question for you, Kyle. You said in the intro that you had notes for me. Are you talking about criticisms, critiques, anything you want to get off your chest?
No, it's just I took notes during the game, like stuff that I loved and just wanted to get your opinion on it. So we'll talk about the talent scale at the end because that's a new feature that was added, and we kind of did some retro scoring from the first two episodes. I love the idea. It's a hook that keeps you back, right? It gives you a pure measurement instead of just leaving it in the viewer's hands, which I think adds to not only the viewership, but it also kind of like it adds that controversy that you almost want, where people are going to be active in the comments debating whether the score was accurate or not, which I love. You even called that out, like, hey, if this score is low for the wow factor, call us out, let us know.
Well, it's not so much that we're like, we're not trying to. I'll back up and tell you what the talent scale is. So we needed a way to actually rank and rate the towns, right? Like we are traveling the country in search of America's best sports city. That's what the show is. And that has been the idea that the four, guys from Temple have had forever. So how do we do that? So we came up with a scale that allows us to basically weigh everything equally. So it's your teams for T, O is the obsessiveness of your fan base, W is the wow factor of your city, because we're curating the perfect travel trip for you as well. So we're going to show you around each town. And then N is nosh. And if you're a guy like me, you know what noshing is. It means you're digging into some good food. So we try to rate every single one of those out of 10. We give you a score that amounts up to 40. And then we just kind of rank and rate each town based upon that. And you had another part of your question. I can't remember what it was.
No, so I was going to say, some of the things that I love about, my notes were all about just stuff that I loved from the episode and stuff I was curious about.
Yeah, so controversial decisions. We're not doing these to be controversial. We're just being honest. Like we view each town through the lens of how we were brought up and raised in Philadelphia, which is, at times a pretty harsh lens. But like that's who we are, and we're not going to be anybody that we're not. So like we go to some of these towns, and these towns are amazing to work with. But at the end of the day, we're kind of grading them against each other. And it's not to say that one is bad, but it is to say like, if we have a great experience at DeNick's in Reading Terminal for roast pork, which I think is the best sandwich in the city, that's going to be tough to compare to, say, an Irish pub somewhere that you may not expect it to be, right?
Yeah. It's funny, Dan, that you mentioned DeNick's, and obviously Philly native, I know and love DeNick's, such a good sandwich. The head of our company, of Philly Sports Network, is this guy, Liam Jenkins. If you haven't interacted with him yet, he is British, like born and raised in the UK, played Madden 1 year, became obsessed with the Eagles, and just decided he studied journalism over there and decided, hey, I'm going to write about the Eagles because he didn't love the coverage that he saw over here. And that's how the PSN started. He is in Philly for the first time in his life right now, despite running a Philly-based website for 10 years. And he has tried 3 times in the last week to get a DeNix roast pork, and the line was so long that they were sold out by the time he got to the front. And he had to pivot. But that's the beauty of Reading Terminal. There's so much there. So I know that that's in the middle of the episode, but I want to start, since we're on the topic. What was your guys' first thoughts about the around the town food? Because we did great stadium food. I love that segment. But around the town, I think that it would have been easy to go to one of the known cheesesteak spots. It would have been easy to go to maybe a lesser known but Philly well-known cheesesteak spot. And you guys went with roast pork, which I would say most people in Philly probably, at least on some level, equate the 2 sandwiches instead of putting the cheesesteak above the other. What was your thought to going to Reading Terminal? What made you decide on DeNix specifically?
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. I think if you're from here, you recognize just how amazing a roast pork from DeNix is. And it's not so much just the sandwich, it's the entire atmosphere. I mean, they lost their counter in the pandemic. They just brought it back. And for me, like when I was in college at Temple, I loved going to Reading Terminal, sitting at the counter at DeNix and just kind of chopping it up. Like I just really enjoyed that. And that to me is such a unique Philly experience that I really wanted to bring across to viewers. And that's exactly what we did. We talked to Joe Nicolosi, who owns the shop there. And we sat, and this didn't make it into the episode. I'm a little upset it didn't make it in, but I will tell you about it. I don't think I've mentioned this in anything I've done either. So a little exclusive here for you. We were sitting there, and a guy sitting next to me, and he's just crushing this roast pork. He is crushing it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to curse, so I won't. But I'm sitting there, and I go, "What's up, man? How's your sandwich?" And he just looks up, and he looks at me, and he goes, "I am hungover as bleep." And he just turns right back around and just goes right back to his roast pork, finishes his water, and then he was like, and then he was gone. And I was like, that
sounds like a Temple great.
That is the Temple / Philadelphia experience
sir.
right there. So it was the most authentic part of the entire episode. I'm not going to pretend I didn't hear that.
Yeah, sorry. We
just beat
this
you.
way.
Like
we got a little Sal guy over here.
Hey, listen. Our sports have been pretty bad. I'm not gonna pretend we're not, but
well,
I'm still gonna keep that North Philly pride.
You've been to a Sweet 16 in the last 45 years, unlike us. So
yeah, but we haven't done anything since. But
20 years. Sorry, 20 years.
Remember the Juan Fernandez years, Dan?
I don't want to talk about that.
It was 2013.
The Juan Fernandez loss to San Diego State is directly, and Kawhi Leonard, directly responsible for my college girlfriend and I breaking up. Yeah, true story. True story.
I didn't know those were connected.
She didn't go to Temple. She went to a different school, and that night Temple lost again. Right, like they'd finally broken through. They finally beat Penn State on a Juan Fernandez last-second shot. The previous years, I love Dunn, but like they just could not get tournament wins. So they finally get there. Their best team. They have a chance to go to the Sweet 16. They lose, and we got into an argument that night. Couldn't tell you what it was about. Probably my fault. And next day I woke up and she was single on Facebook, and I was like, "Well, really dating myself there."
And then he went right to DeNix for his hungover roast pork. That's what.
Yeah, more like a sad roast pork.
Yeah, probably a little bit slower on the intake on that one.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that obviously was going to stand out about this episode is the passion. I think that's the obsession is a perfect thing for Philly to peak the scale on. I don't want to spoil it, but I think they got damn near a perfect score on the obsession factor. To me, you guys did such a good job of making that passion obvious right off the bat. Right from the jump, you are asking people in the parking lot, Philly isn't really as bad as they say it is it? And it's a dude wearing a Philly PD custom shirt who's just like, you better watch your back if you come into Philadelphia with the opposing.
Yeah.
Like, this dude's supposed to be a police officer, and he's threatening other teams' fans right off the bat. If that doesn't give you that kickstart to a fun episode, I didn't know what was going to. And like right away, you guys had my attention, despite being from here, knowing what you guys were going to do, having some off-camera conversations about what to expect, and still right off the bat, you had me hooked. He's such a cool moment. And how much did you guys feel that? Like, obviously, you know that what your intent is here. How much did you guys feel that while you were filming? And then how many people were you not able to use because they just wouldn't stop cursing or being too aggressive? Yeah,
well, that guy now hosts the show. I love that guy so much. He was like, you come in here wearing another color, you're on the radar. This is Philadelphia.
Yeah, meanwhile, he's wearing a Philly PD shirt.
You are the best person I've ever met in my entire life. So we actually set out to shoot that. We just went to a random tailgate for the Phillies, not even like for the Eagles, like traditionally more of a quieter crowd there. And yes, that gentleman was right in the middle of the game of bags, and he was like, "Yeah, there's no way I'm letting go of my bags during this interview." So, yeah, we set out to be like, we're not that bad. We're not that bad. And by the time we finished shooting that day, we were like, okay, like the segment has to change. The segment has to change. We can't do it. Yeah, I mean, it's the first episode where we have gratuitous language because everyone decided to use gratuitous language. But that's, part of the show's mission is to give you an authentic look at some of these places, right? So, like, yes, we are showing the revelry of an Eagles championship parade down Broad Street, and we're showing you a teacher who is there on a Tuesday night telling you that if you want to talk some smack, you're going to get smack talk back in very adult language. And that's just the Philly experience, right? So, like, yes, like we don't come in with an agenda. We're trying to present what it's like to go to these places. And sometimes it's going to be more authentic than maybe others would like.
Dude, but again, I like that. I like that little peek behind the scenes because I think in my mind the assumption was that 100% you're going to just see the bad side of Philly, and the fact that you guys went in with the intent of like, no, we're not as bad as people say we are, and then all of a sudden you're talking to other fans, you're like, damn, maybe we're just as bad as we say we are. I think one of the funniest things was seeing that from an elected official. You guys have Governor Shapiro on the episode.
Yeah, how did you get Governor Shapiro?
He likes the show.
Go ahead.
He likes the show.
There you go.
It's kind of a crazy story. Maybe like 6 or 7 months ago at this point, a member of his team reached out and was like, "Hey, Governor Salt has seen the show," which I don't know how that happened.
There you go.
He likes the show. If you are ever shooting a Philly episode, he would love to be on it. And I was like, well, we are currently filming a Philly episode with the Phillies.
You should say
so, and shout out to the Phillies and Major League Baseball. They were amazing during this entire process. And that's one of the fun part of the shows too, is we partner with leagues. Like we're partnering with the National Football League and the Kansas City Chiefs right now. That episode comes out December 1st. But they were great. And we ended up shooting that segment with the governor in John Middleton's private suite. So it was a really fun day. We're going to release that entire interview with the governor as well, because it was amazing. And of course, the thing that cracked me up the most was he could not wait to make fun of Ben Simmons. Like, this dude had Ben Simmons jokes locked and loaded. He couldn't wait to talk about how much he hates Ben Simmons. Which, we walked around recently and asked people, like, who's your least favorite Philadelphia athlete? And depending on your age, if you were like 35 and under, it was like Ben Simmons immediately.
Wow.
Is it weird that mine's David Herndon?
David Herndon. Wow.
Why?
I swear during those those really good Phillies teams, the early 2010s, I swear every time I watched him play, he was giving up runs.
Yeah, he had an ERA like in the clouds. Yeah, but
like any high prestige situation, David Herndon.
It's like I have this weird thing where I'm just not. I can't stand Eric Bruntlett, and everyone's like, "You mean World Series champion Eric Bruntlett?" I'm like, I know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
He scored on the Jeff Jenkins double. How dare you?
I know. I'm a terrible Philly fan.
Is it a
everyone's
thing?
like, "Oh, he turned an unassisted triple play." I'm like, "Yeah, he made back-to-back errors to put those guys on." Like it's not...
Is it a beard thing? Or
maybe I had beard envy at the time.
Beard contempt. Yeah.
Let's see from SportsTown. Wow, you guys are watching. Sure. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a 0.01% on Immaculate Grid for sure. A David Herndon reference. So
true.
So I actually wanted to ask you a little bit more about Shapiro because, like you said, he was pretty loose. And to know that he loves the show, this makes a lot more sense. But I was going to ask you, like, was it different interviewing? You've interviewed restaurant owners and team officials and college athletes and the Savannah Bananas dad bod cheerleading squad that you are an honorary member of. That you've interviewed all these fun people, and then elected official Governor Shapiro walks in the door. Was it a little bit? I know you've interviewed some big time people in your career, but was that a little like, dude, I got to be a little more careful. I got to be a little bit safer here. I'm talking to this guy with all this power. And then on the flip side, how quickly did he let you know, like, oh, I don't have to worry about that at all?
No. So in the research, and frankly, like, this won't be interesting to anybody, but he was the AG in Philadelphia when I was a reporter at CBS 3. So like I had interviewed him many, many times.
Okay.
Now, did he remember me? Probably not. But I had interacted with him several times. In the research, in the run-up to, I mean, he's done a lot of collaborations with people who are interested in sports, he is like really making push right now to showcase his authentic sports fandom. And in a lot of those interviews, he's very loose. So I knew we were going to be very loose. I knew there was going to be cursing. I knew he was going to be very passionate. So I wasn't loose. I wasn't thrown by it at all. I would say the only thing I was thrown by was his entourage, very large entourage for potentially the future president of the United States. And if he wins, we will absolutely resurface all those clips.
Obviously. SportsTown from DC. That's what.
He went on a rant against JD to keep this apolitical, but he went on a rant against JD Vance the other day at a Snap function in Pennsylvania, and I was the first person to comment like SportsTown's Josh Shapiro.
There you go.
Got zero likes. That's okay.
That's all right. Well, we got some numbers coming up. So for those who just joined us, welcome to Alley Talk here on Philly Sports Network. We have the host of SportsTown, Dan Koob, here with us. The incomparable Dan Koob, if I may. Wonderful host for a wonderful show. 4 guys from Philly started it all, and they just released their Philly episode last week. MLB, Phillies involved. And you lived out possibly every young Philadelphia fan's dream. You had a secret handshake with the Fanatic. How the hell did that come about? Because I got to tell you, it's the thing I'm most jealous of in the entire episode.
It's funny is I showed it to, I have 2 daughters, and I showed it to one of my daughters. And now she walks around the house doing the Fanatic belly dance all the time. One of my favorites. Boop, right? It's just, when you're in there with the Fanatic, things happen. You just turn into a kid. I don't know what to tell you. Like he's just the best mascot in sports for a reason. And the Phillies are basically like, you've got 5 minutes with them. So we had 5 minutes to come up with a best friend handshake, booty shake, tummy shake, and we did it. And we all know the Fanatic is by far the best mascot in sports. So he had to be in the episode.
Just to codify that he is the best mascot in sports, I want to share a little bit of story about one of my close family friends. My sister's godfather, Tim, he once told me with his daughter, Meredith, even after, the Easter Bunny, Santa, it was the Philadelphia Fanatic that he didn't want to admit was not a real creature. Santa was easy, Easter Bunny was easy, but the Fanatic, he did not want to reveal that was fake. That
I'm sorry, what?
He's just that kind of mythical being, and he's just fun like that.
So
you mean the giant bird from the Galapagos Islands? That's a real
from the Galapagos, exactly.
What are you trying to tell me right now?
He's real.
We're gonna have a conversation off air after this because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's got a whole gang too.
I have a couple questions for you guys, if that's okay. We've been running people through what we call the SportsTown survey is what we've been calling it. And you guys, as Philadelphians, I'd be curious for your thoughts on it. We have a couple questions. First and foremost, SportsTown Show on YouTube, SportsTown Show on all socials, where you can see all of our episodes. You can stream all 3 of our episodes: Lexington, Savannah, and Philly right now. KC, of course, coming out December 1st with the Chiefs. So, best place to get a breakfast sandwich in Philadelphia. Kyle, you go first.
Ooh, this is going to be controversial. Any food truck where they don't use gloves to cook their food. Give me some of those natural spices, dude.
So
there was a couple places near Hahnemann. So I went to high school at Roman Catholic in Center City, and there was quite a few food trucks around there where you could grab a breakfast sandwich before you went in. And there were 2 that did not use gloves, and they were better than everybody else. So it's kind of tough to vote against anybody else. That's my personal preference. I think there's probably a better answer out there, but I'm going to go with a food truck where they don't use gloves.
Kyle is the only person in the world to be immune to listeria.
I built up an immunity over the years.
I'm a similar answer. I think any local deli has a great breakfast sandwich. You go in there, they're going to hook you up.
I'm with you. Okay. Your Philadelphia athlete, Mount Rushmore.
Ooh, the Philadelphia athlete Mount Rushmore. Well, Mike Schmidt is on there. AI. Dawkins.
David Herndon.
And
this is a good list, Kyle.
I'll say Bobby Clark. I'm picking one from each team, obviously. Those are my 4 if I'm going one from each team.
That's a really good list.
if you go one from each team, definitely Bobby Clark from the Flyers. That is easy. Actually, you know what? No, I'm putting Bernie Perron. He just passed
That's
this
fair.
year, and I
Yeah.
think he was the greatest image of what a Philadelphian should be. So I'm putting Bernie Perron over Bobby Clark. That might be a little controversial, but I'm going that. Schmitty is obvious for the Phillies. I think AI is obvious for the Sixers. For the Birds, though, Dawkins really is like the guy, but we have 2 Super Bowls in the last,
I
8
know.
years?
I know.
Should we put
Tough.
Kelsey?
That's
Kelsey?
I was thinking about Kelsey. I was
Did
thinking
you
all the way
put
back to Randall. I mean, it's
Sirianni.
I'm not ready to put Sirianni on a.
Yeah, he's got the 5th best winning
Mount
percentage of
Rushmore.
all time.
Sure, I don't
Looking
hate him
pretty
or
good.
anything, but I would put Kelsey. I'm putting
Okay.
Kelsey.
All right.
So mine is Schmitty, AI, Kelsey, and Perron.
Okay.
I like this from
what
the
is-
SportsTown handle. Howie Roseman, the dark horse. I like it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You could.
that's
you
might
could-
not bad. That's not bad.
3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl trips.
Yeah.
Right?
Getting
Two-
hit with a
two
can and then
completely
giving a
different-
rousing speech, like with blood on his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
two
sick.
completely different teams too. What would you name the WNBA team? Keep it clean.
Ooh.
Keep it clean.
The obvious one is the
oh, man.
Bells. Everybody is, but I don't think that's fun enough.
At the risk of being punny, it's too much of a layup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Oh man. What would be a good name? The
Bring
Bells
back
is
the
the one that
River
I
Sharks.
think. River Sharks. That would be ridiculous. I mean, they could be the Soul because the Soul doesn't exist anymore. They could do that if we're revisiting names here. I mean, the Liberty's an obviously one, but they're taken. Freedom, Philadelphia Freedom.
Could be.
I like that. Let's go with that. I'm going
Okay.
Philadelphia Freedom.
I'll stick with the obvious answer, the Bells.
Okay.
I know that's a little cheesy, but I think it does make a lot of sense.
What's the first jersey you owned?
First jersey I owned was a Dikembe Mutombo jersey. Yes, sir. It was this this style, but the blue version instead of the black version.
Love
and then
it.
I got this one shortly after. So Mutombo is mine.
I know I definitely had a random Eagles jersey at some point, but I can't remember what it was. I got into following the professional sports a little bit later. I know one of my earliest jerseys was a Halliday spring training jersey, maybe a Ruiz spring training jersey, because we always had the Majestic tent sale, and that's where I was able to actually pick something out and get because we didn't have a ton of money.
This will tell you a lot about me. My first jersey was a Mike Allstott jersey.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. There you go.
Love a fullback, brother. Love a fullback.
They're
Okay,
coming
well, I hope so. Let's just do one more. We kind of touched on your most hated Philly athlete. Who's the most hated non-Philly athlete?
Ooh.
Oh, easy for me. Cody Ross.
Ooh, that's
Cody
That
Ross.
dude drove me crazy.
Oh, not Cody Ross. It's
That's a good one.
easily Cody Ross. Did I mention it was Cody Ross?
Yeah, I think so.
Man, who do I hate as a Philly athlete? I don't know. For a long time, I hated Kobe Bryant, but that was only because he beat us.
Yeah.
And then, as I got older, I started gaining respect for legends instead of just getting tired of watching them win. So it definitely isn't Kobe. Oh man, I was hated non.
A lot of people we asked
athlete.
just said like Dallas Cowboy players in general. I think
Yeah,
another
I
good
don't-
answer would be like Jeff Conine, Fred, or Andres
Ooh.
Galarraga would be a good one.
A-Rod.
Yeah,
Chipper Jones. I'll go Chipper Jones.
Ooh, Chip.
I
You know
ended
what?
up having respect for him at the end, but he drove me
Yeah.
friggin' insane.
You know
when we
what
played
moment absolutely killed me watching Chipper Jones against the Phillies? That game where Roy Halladay pitched and he hit the grand slam off of Halladay. I was in Norway watching that game at like 3 a.m, and I
Humble
swear
brag, this guy.
I have family in Norway,
It's
but
fine.
I was devastated. I was like, no, and it was like right. I think earlier that week Ryan Braun hit like 3 home runs against the Phillies. Ryan Braun's also one who killed the Phillies.
Yeah. Hebrew Hammer, one of my favorites.
Love it. Any more questions for us, Dan?
No, I think that covers it. I think that's good. You guys did a
All
great
right,
job.
well, we did the SportsTown survey here on Philly Sports Network on Alley Talk. Once again, thank you guys for watching. We do have Dan Koob, host of SportsTown, with us. Alex, what do you got for us?
I got one thing.
Rather, what do you got?
I want to say the one city I'm very looking forward to you covering is Chicago. I've been to Chicago multiple times. I have multiple friends in there. I think it's a great town. And I think that's going to be the town that really will challenge Philly. They got some great food. I wouldn't recommend going for deep dish pizza. It's overrated as all hell.
Yes, it is.
But I've never tried a dip roast beef sandwich. I'd be curious about that.
Yep, Chicago, you got to get the beef. One of my bucket list episodes is a Wrigleyville episode.
Oh, yeah.
Wrigleyville is like one of my favorite places on earth. I love it.
It's so awesome. I love that area.
One of my favorite spots. When I used to live in Wisconsin, I would drive down all the time just to sit in the bleachers, go to Murphy's and go to Sluggers and take cuts when you're 5 or 6 deep. Just a wonderful experience, a wonderful time in your 20s. I would love to do Chicago. One of the big things is we're not necessarily looking for the biggest event too, right? Like people are like, you should go to the Super Bowl. It's like, well, I don't know. Are people going to be that impressed by that? Like,
and that rotates too.
Yeah, we're looking for the best story. Like, we want to tell stories about, who these people are, what they're like. Because one of the big points of the show is to showcase that regardless if you're in Philly or Kansas City or Chicago, we're all so similar, regardless of how we may think politically or act or whatever. Like, we love sports. We work hard for our families. At the end of the day, like, we're all looking for a little love, right? So that's what the show is really about. It's all about like people being connected through sports and through shared experience. So that's really what we're trying to bring to folks.
We love it, man. I had one more note. Well, 2 more actually. One more that I wanted to get to real quick. So the thing that I loved that you guys do this in every city, but it's really like you walk away from the sports venue. You walk away from the popular food item and you go see what the town is really about. And one of the things that I thought was interesting that I don't think many people think of when they think of Philadelphia, even those who live here, is the extreme depth of art and culture that exist in this city. And everybody knows about the art museum, but there's the Rodin Museum. There's so many museums around the city, both showcasing older art, modern art, fixtures. And the thing that stands out when you come to Philadelphia is those murals that you see all around town. And you guys had a great segment with a mural artist. I think it was David McShane and Jane Golden, who was the works for Mural Arts Philadelphia, who helps curate all those and schedule everything, all the work that gets done. There's murals that are straight art pieces. There's murals that are honoring local legends, sports legends. And in Philadelphia, if you pay attention to the news, it is a big news story every single time one of these is curated. You guys went to the Dick Allen one. That's the one that I remember seeing on the news most recently. But what went into the decision to make that the part of art culture in Philadelphia that you guys were going to highlight?
Yeah, we really strive to feature some sort of culture aspect in each of these cities, right? Because if you really watch the episodes, the actual game is like 2 minutes of what we do.
Yeah.
And the other 22 to 23 minutes is like, what is there to do in the town? Now, some of that is by design. Some of that is, a rights thing. But at the end of the day, like if you go in for a long weekend to any town, 5% of your stay is going to be in the stadium. So we want to show you like what else you can do. And specifically to Philadelphia is the mural capital of the world. There's 4,000 murals in Philadelphia. I'm not sure people in Philly even know that. So that was a big emphasis of ours, is to showcase just how vibrant the arts community is in Philadelphia. And Jane Golden is amazing. And, she actually just recently announced she's going to be stepping down in her role, like 2 days after we filmed with her. So I'm not sure what I did.
Oh, how about that?
But she was like, deuces, I'm out of here. But yeah, they were amazing, David and her, to take us around and show us all these fantastic pieces. Because you're right, like you drive around the city and I mean, there's so many murals, you almost become numb to how many things are just around you. So, when we walk around these cities, we want to keep our eyes open, our ears open, and show people like what they may miss, even if they live in that town. Like we want people to walk away having learned something, in addition to being entertained, if we can.
Yeah, literally just yesterday when I was driving to pick up Liam, I ended up near where the original Philadelphia Stars ballpark was. So they had a little memorial park. And right across the street was this great mural that I had never seen before. And luckily I was at a stoplight and got to soak it in for, about 30 seconds. But I never knew that was even there.
Yeah, the Negro League is a really fascinating thing to me. And the Negro League Museum is actually in Kansas City. And we went there and spent a lot of time there. And it was like a religious experience. So if that's something you're interested in, please watch the Casey episode. To me, it's like one of the more meaningful things I think we've done. And the structure of that museum is really fascinating and sobering, quite frankly. It really drives home the experience of being an African-American ball player before Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier and what limited access existed to playing ball, right? At a quote unquote professional level. Really interesting. And the interviews we have are fantastic. So I hope people will stick around for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping you guys would feature that. I literally just went for the first time this year, despite being to Kansas City quite a few times over the last couple of years. And it's funny that they have a mural nearby their museum, and it really stands out because of the fact that you don't see it across that entire city. You've traveled a ton for work. I travel a ton for work.
It's like a little field. We stopped there.
Yeah, exactly.
Got a ton of shots of it because it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
And that really stands out in that city because it might be one of the few or only ones that they have in the city. In Philly, you almost don't even realize how many there are. Because if you don't live there and drive by them every day, like Alex said, you might not even know that a certain mural exists because you just haven't come across it in your everyday travels before. So I really loved that being the thing. And I know I put this in a comment in one of the things, and you kind of cheekishly commented back, I don't wish we had 20 more episodes because it's just so grueling to put them out. But I think when you talk about the murals and that being almost an afterthought for people who live here, it signifies how a major city like this, you could do, in theory, 10 different episodes with the same formula, but highlight a different thing in all 10, never have a repeat experience. Like even your food trials at the ballpark, there's so many new options in that ballpark now that by the time you get around through the burn-end cheesesteak, you're like, oh, damn, I forgot that Federal Donuts had an incredible chicken sandwich. I already have the Kyle Cutlet ready to go. So tell us about that a little bit, your experience with the food inside the stadium, your experience inside the stadium overall. And before you're done with that, you got to tell us what your favorite choice was down at CBP.
Yeah, we had to cut some stuff out, actually, for time. We ate so much. I ate so many things that day. And shout out to Aramark. Aramark was amazing in procuring all those options for us. Yeah, I mean, ballpark food, we know people who will tour the country just eating ballpark food. Yeah. Right. And there is clearly a competition. And we actually talked to one of the chefs about this. There is a competition amongst ballpark chefs to see who can push the envelope further and further every year and who can mix different ingredients that perhaps haven't been mixed before, who can come up with like the craziest thing visually. And it's a really fun kind of chess match between ballparks every single year. So obviously the Phillies were lighting up social with the s'mores quesadilla this year. So had to try that. We had the Kyle Cutlet, which was really up my alley. Really like that. It's like a hot honey chicken cutlet sandwich. Love that.
Love that.
We did, Chickies and Pete's fries. Had to do it. Soft serve in a ice cream cone. Soft serve in a helmet, right?
Oh yeah.
Got to do that at every ballpark. Just a bunch of things, man. And I think my favorite, that's tough. They were all so different, but all really good. I will say, because I had not eaten yet that day, that I was hungry, and that the Kyle Cutlet was probably my favorite.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I thought you might say the burn end. I loved it.
It was good.
Pricey, but it was so good.
Yeah, but it had a lot of cheese on it. And once you get up there in your 30s, cheese isn't always your best friend. It was 97 degrees that day. So I was like, I really am not trying to have an issue with all this cheese.
Understand that.
Having said that, it was very good. It was good.
With Bull's Barbecue, I like the price for the burn-in cheesesteak. I love the burn-in cheesesteak, but it always drives me to, well, I could just get the ribs platter because their ribs are actually really good.
Okay.
Like for any ballpark barbecue, Bull's is the truth.
It's been some time since I've had it, to be quite honest. I mean, I would be curious to know how it compares to the barbecue in Kansas City. I mean, people swear up and down, but it's been so long since I've had it. Now that I've experienced my body weight in ribs in Kansas City, I'd have to go back to Bull's and see how it compares.
My first Bulls experience, just a really quick side story before I ask you my final question, Dan.
Sure.
My first Bulls experience. So I was obviously a Phillies fan, but I was a Sammy Sosa fan during the home run races in the early 2000s. And so anytime the Cubs came to town, my family tried to take me down so I could see both the Phillies and the Cubs together. And I was a very picky eater, but my brother, he takes me down as a surprise for my birthday. It's like, I don't know, 101 degrees outside, and we were driving in his station wagon that had an issue in the engine. So every time we stopped, just smoke was bellowing out and bellowing into the car. So it felt like 120 on the way down. It was awful. I'm miserable. I have no idea where we're going until we roll up and we're a block away. And I was like, I think I know what's going on here. So we go and he goes, look, I know that you're pretty picky, but you have to eat Bull's barbecue with me. So we went out and we got the giant turkey legs.
Oh yeah.
And we sat right above the bullpen and watched Mark Pryor warm up. And I remember watching him pitch and thinking, the Phillies are screwed. This guy looks electric. The pop is a little extra. I sat through that miserable trip all the way down here, and I'm going to watch Mark Pryor carve the Phillies up, and Bobby Abreu hit a grand slam, the fourth batter of the game, 10 feet in front of us, and that was it. I was like, oh, man, what a great – so my first Bulls barbecue experience was thinking Mark Pryor was going to carve the Phillies up and watching Bobby Abreu change that pretty quickly. So great spot down there. Any recommendation at the ballpark besides the burn end, maybe something that didn't make the cut for people down there starting next season?
You can't go wrong with some ice cream and sprinkles, man. Or Jimmy's. Sorry, Philly. Jimmy's.
Oof. I almost called you out on that.
Oof. Yeah.
We'll cut that one from the final video.
Thank you. Yeah.
And real question for food, soft pretzel. Is it a must try for people who come into town? Is it really that good in Philly? Is it overrated, underrated, properly rated? What do we feel about the soft pretzel?
It has to have enough exhaust into it. If it doesn't have exhaust from Patterson Avenue, I don't think it's going to be very good. And I'm being dead serious.
Similar to my take with
I grew up
food,
on,
the more poisonous it is, the better.
I grew up on exhaust-filled soft pretzels that my dad would get me on the way home from a Phillies game that I would eventually fall asleep in the back of the car during. That's home to me.
I would say there is an Amish stand in Reading Terminal that absolutely fantastic soft pretzels.
Well, that's exactly zero exhaust if it's from the Amish.
I know, it's like opposite end of the spectrum.
Right.
I mean, the exhaust you're getting from that's strictly from cows.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true. Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to talk to a mythical creature, as we already talked about in the Fanatic. You also had a chance to talk to some historical figures. Our guy Dan was out there talking with Betsy Ross and Ben Franklin about the history in Philly, and obviously everybody knows former capital of the state, former capital of the country. Doesn't currently hold either one of those titles anymore, unfortunately. Maybe it has something to do with those unruly fans. But regardless, what was more exciting? Being able to take a trip into the mascot world and hang out with one of the most famous characters in the world, or talking to present-day 1770s superstars in American history?
I mean, Ben Franklin was some of the most fun I've had on a shoot. We walked around for 2 hours, I want to say. And obviously you edit it down to 90 seconds.
Yeah.
But he was so funny, trained actor, obviously, in addition to discovering electricity. And the best part we had was in the episode where we were sitting there and we just decided to have a beer together. So we just grabbed a couple, no free ads, a local beer from Pottstown, whatever. And we cracked them, we l'chaimed, and we downed some drinks together. Now, the best part about that is, he's Ben Franklin. It's Independence Mall where you cannot drink. So he was very worried about the potential of being arrested in his Ben Franklin outfit, which would have just made national headlines, which would have catapulted
100%.
SportsTown into viral world, which would have been wonderful. Maybe not for him.
Say you were trying to get him arrested.
He would have got more business
business
too. What are we kidding?
He's in his 80s. He's done it all. He's lived a good life. There's no reason he can't hog all the attention. Give some shine to us. Come on. He was great. Loved working with him. He was amazing. And he totally got it. We made a ton of jokes. He makes a really funny toga joke in the episode as well.
I like that one, yeah.
So he was really lovely.
I have a note here from the segment with Ben Franklin, and I wrote it down, and I wanted to get your thoughts. I said, Is the Ben Franklin segment the most authentic Philly part of the episode? It's a dude dressed like Ben Franklin, first of all.
Yeah.
That could happen at any point in Philadelphia, whether they're a paid actor or not. There could just be some dude who's maybe had a rough weekend dressed like Ben Franklin, and you're drinking beers in a park, breaking open container laws out of a brown paper bag. To me, that's the most.
Yeah.
That's almost more true Philly than the cop threatening people and telling them that they should be careful if they're wearing the opposing team's colors. So, what are your thoughts? Most authentic part of the show, or was there something a little more authentic for you?
No, I think you nailed it there. That's pretty much the checklist, I would say.
Yeah, and the contrast
Alec,
between that and interviewing Governor Shapiro, I mean, you really have the duality of Philadelphia.
Well, I'll tell you, I think if we could have popped a couple cold ones with Governor Shapiro, he probably would have done it.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have to worry about open container laws in the Philly
got
stadium.
A driver. He's fine. Yeah, he's good.
He's like, yeah, go ahead, come at me with an open container ticket. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Speaking of beverages, I don't want to leave this out. You guys did what so many people who are from Philly or spent a significant time of Philly don't know. You guys went to Bob and Brenda's, and the birthplace of what is now known as the Citywide Special. The special, as they call it in-house, because they started it all. To me, an unexpected part, I had talked to you, I had talked to Rudy about what you guys were going to feature. You purposefully, knowing that I have this show every week, left plenty of information out. And I love that you guys were able to touch on that place, because there's so many other places you could have gone. I mean, McGillen's is right there. Patty's is right there. And things that still would have felt authentic Philly, not done by Philly guys. What made you go to Bob and Brenda's?
It's just classic Philly, man. Shot a beer, got to go get the special. Yeah,
excuse me.
Just got to get the special. I love jazz. My brother used to live right behind Bob and Barbara's, actually, when I was in college, and spent a lot of time there. And when it came down to all right, we got to find somewhere to go, it was like, well, why would we go anywhere else? That's where the special originated. And actually, I didn't even know this, but the owner, Katrina, who's in the episode, went to my high school. Had no idea.
Oh, how about that?
Nice. Found it out. Somebody watched the episode and texted me and was like, "Oh, how long have you known Katrina?" And I was like, 15 minutes. And they were like, "Well, didn't you both go to that high school?" And I was like, "Yeah." Did she go there? So
if she went there, then yes, we both went there.
Yeah, my deductive reasoning.
The town scale, because you guys closed the episode with it, so I want to close our episode with it. Town scale. Alec, did you get to the end of the episode? Did you see what they gave Philly?
Yeah,
they're in first place, but what are your thoughts? Was it too low?
So,
too low, despite being the best of the three cities so far.
It feels too low, but I feel like you were very fair. For someone whose crew is 4 Philly guys, I thought it was very fair. Do I agree with it being fair? Not as much, but I think you guys did great in keeping your personal biases a little bit under the surface. And I think that really...
disagree?
What's that?
Where'd you disagree?
What did you get the food score?
I think like an 8.6.
8.6. I wrote
what was the lowest one? Was that the
wow factor? Was
the wow factor?
Yeah.
So I think that's where I differed a little bit, because if you look, especially at like Penn's Landing, like that is some like the most beautiful area of Philly, where you just get the river scene between Camden and Philly, skyline behind you, Camden across, the Ben Franklin Bridge right there. I think there's a little bit of a wow factor that could have been featured, but I get it. Philly's best kept secrets are a little under the surface. So again, I defer that a little bit, but I do think it's fair.
So one of the things that is tough to do, right, is we fly into these cities and we have 4 or 5 days of shooting and we're out of there. So we have to look at each town in the same way. So obviously we've lived in Philly for so many years. We know every nook and cranny, every crevice of the city, where we don't really have that opportunity for other towns. So like, it's kind of unfair for us to consider those things for Philly. And when we just physically, time-wise, cannot do it for other spots, right? So that's kind of where it is. But, we go back and forth on the ratings. It's not just me up there slinging numbers. The whole crew who goes on the trips, we sit down and we hammer it out, and we don't even agree internally. And you're probably going to see some of that content coming out, at some point. Our internal debates as to like, what do we give these things? Because every guy is different. Every girl is different on the show. So, we all interpret things differently. We all experience things differently. So that's kind of like the fun of it as well is, what number do we put out publicly? Because there may be people on the show who don't agree.
Yeah, you could just do a little post-show podcast called like the Ratings Roundtable.
We could. That's right.
Yeah. There we go. Hey, let us know. We'll be in. Dan, I got to say, what my only question regarding the scale, I kind of feel like Alec, where like I understand why the numbers might be what they are, even if my instinct is to disagree with it. I think that it's, and the clarity you gave to it just now, I think really helps. It's, if we're talking about going in for a long weekend, is the wow factor worth it when it might take you 10 days to experience the true wow factor of Philadelphia? So that's the one where I would say maybe I would have liked it to be higher, but I totally get it. My only question is,
if you've got problems with it, get into the comments of the YouTube channel and start leaving.
That was going to be my question: is do I have to blame Rob?
Engagement.
Who am I blaming for the W? Is it Rob?
Probably Rob. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to call him out personally in the comments.
Please,
we know it wasn't the broccoli Rob on the Nick sandwich. So
no,
that definitely was not that Rob. No. Dan, first off, I just want to thank you for joining us. I know that you've been doing a lot of media. I'm doing my write-up on the episode this weekend, so we'll have that out in the Metro next week.
Thank you.
Just appreciate you and the time and the attention you guys have given us. I know that we're helping amplify the voice, but you guys don't need us. So we appreciate everything you guys have done.
Not true at all. We love talking to anybody and everybody. And obviously Kyle's known us since we were all in school together. So we have always appreciated your support. Alec, it's wonderful to be on with you and to meet you for the first time. But no, we really appreciate everyone's support, everyone's eyes. Like I said, engaging with the show is what helps sponsors find the show. We do have one sponsor. FanDuel is our lone sponsor right now, and we have a great relationship with them. But, we want to work with more partners and kind of continue to move this thing forward. So every conversation helps. Every share helps. Everything goes a long way for us. And we are very appreciative of it because we are just four guys with an idea who happen to have equipment and time. Well, not so much time. We have equipment. We make the time.
It in, right?
Yeah, we squeeze it in. But yeah, no, we are very appreciative.
No, and it was great meeting you too, Dan.
And I've said this before, and we have a great comment from someone on the channel right now. Watch the show, turn on the notifications, putting out more content than just the show every week. The shorts have been great. The Instagram reels have been great. If you love the show, let them know. The comments mean even more than the likes and the shares sometimes. So put it out there. So many people are passive. Oh, I liked it. I'm not even going to react. No, let them know so they can continue to grow this thing into something special, because in the first few episodes, you can tell that this is something special that you guys have put together. It is a Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever insert streaming service here. It is that level of quality, if not better than some of the things you're seeing there. It is a travel show, a Bourdain-esque, a Jamie Sire-esque show mixed in with the passion of sports. It is a great job. And at the same time, you're supporting now a much larger team, but 4 kids at the heart of this thing who all started this dream together at Temple University in your backyard if you're from Philly. So make sure you give them support for this wonderful project. Dan, before we let you go, 2 quick ones for you. One thing that you really wish would have gotten in the show, and then 2, give us your hottest Phillies take for this offseason.
God, I don't know. We shot this one over the course of like 3 months. It's all like a blur to me. I mean, because we live here, right? So like we shoot most episodes over the course of 5 days, and it's like 5 straight 18-hour days. And the Philly one was like, well, I have time Tuesday. Do you have time Tuesday? Well, I have time Wednesday. Times 3 months. It was just like, give me a headache. My hottest Phillies take. I don't think they're going to get rid of Bohm. I don't think they're going to be able to. They're not going to be able to get rid of Bohm. They're not going to be able to get rid of Castellano. I mean,
you think Castellanos is
I think they're releasing. I think they're releasing Castellanos if they can't trade him.
They're not going to trade him, but they're just going to have to eat $20 million. Like,
it's going to stink. But do you want him in the clubhouse as a bench player?
No. Of course not. But money doesn't grow on trees. So I don't know who you're going to get to replace him. I don't think there are any takers for Bohm. I think it sucks Harrison Bader's gone. So my hot take is that the
Hey,
Phillies
he could be back.
He could be. He could be. My hot take is that the Phillies regress significantly next year.
Ooh.
Oh no. Uh-oh. Not the hot take that people want to hear, but we asked for a
it's
hot
just
take
gotten
and that's
colder.
what we got.
Everybody's got seasonal depression. If you made them more sad, how dare you?
Well, one way to cheer yourself up is if you haven't watched it yet, get your butt over to SportsTown Show on YouTube and watch the Philly episode. And when you do love it, not if, but when you do love it, make sure you go back and watch the Lexington, Kentucky episode and the awesome, fun change of pace that they did with the Savannah Bananas down in Savannah, Georgia. Dan, we appreciate the time. Good luck with the rest of the show. We will be locked in leading up to the Kansas City show, and I'll follow up with you as I write this thing over the weekend if I have any follow-up questions. All right, man?
Love it. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate the time and the space. And thanks for hanging out.
And December 1st, right, Dan?
Yeah, December 1st, Kansas City. We worked with the NFL and the Chiefs. That's our next one coming out, and then we're going to keep hitting the road after that.
Awesome. Love it. Love to hear it. December 1st, keep yourselves locked into SportsTown Show all the way between now and then, and go Phils.
Go Phils.
Go.
All right,
Phils.
Dan. We'll talk soon, buddy. Like I said, that is Dan Koob from SportsTown, a wonderful sports travel show put together by four of my friends from Temple University, four Philly kids, and their quest to find the best sports city in America. Philly show just dropped last week. Great episode. Go check it out if you haven't done so yet. And if you were intrigued by anything that we talked about, appreciate the love, guys. Appreciate the time. Alec, before we wrap up, because we're going a little long here, but the interview was great. I didn't want to cut us short. Any final Phillies thoughts before we hop off? Obviously, we'll get into a little bit deeper next week. We had the interview scheduled this week, so we wanted to make sure we gave Dan the appropriate amount of time. But what are some fleeting Phillies thoughts before the weekend rolls around that we can leave the people with before next week?
I think if the Phillies don't make a significant move on the offense, they need to build an elite bullpen. They already have the starters. They already have the closer. It won't take a ton to get, say, really all they need are like two righties, because Banks was amazing last year as the lefty out of the bullpen. Alvarado, we'll see what he has to offer in a full season back. I don't think you can judge him based on that little spurt and then the injury at the end of the year. But I really think they need to pursue like two right-handed relievers that are going to be really good additions to the bullpen. I would like Rogers, the one that was in Norway.
I like him.
Is that Taylor or is that Trevor?
I don't remember.
Because I forget they're both brothers. Signing them both would be an interesting little story. But he had an amazing season. I think he's a different kind of pitcher, a submariner. I think if you get that different look of the Phillies bullpen, you can do what like the Rays did. I think it was in 2020 when they really were bringing guys from different arm slots out of that bullpen that you could never get comfortable.
Kind of what Kansas City did in those two World Series runs.
Yeah.
They just put up the bullpen heavy, yeah.
And I think that if the Phillies, can't improve on the offense, just lock down on the pitching. You don't really need to add starting, but so let's secure that bullpen.
I mean, that's definitely something that they could do. I think you lean into the pitching. The starting pitching is clearly what's carried them the last couple of years, even when the offense looked poised to be stronger than they have been. That's not a bad idea. I like that. I would say my one warning to Philadelphia fans is don't allow what you feel like is inactivity or not explosive moves to deter you from being excited about the offseason. Because the biggest move felt like a Jordan Romano signing, and turns out it was a kind of under the radar trade for Jesus Luzardo, who ends up being starting game 2 in a playoff series for you. So like don't be shocked if they make a move that doesn't look like the game changer at first and becomes a game changer later. I think that's the one thing that I'd say about this offseason is they're going to have to get creative, and one of those creative moves might not look like the best move on paper and may pay dividends later in the season.
If they want to slow start Zach Wheeler, I do think a guy on the market to add is like one of a lower end starter. I think a Merrill Kelly wouldn't hurt in Philadelphia.
Merrill, do you think he's not going to get much? I think that he's going to do
I-
well.
He's
free
older.
agency.
He's older than you think he is. I'd have to look up the
Really?
exact, and I don't
I'm
think he
looking
had
it up
an
now.
amazing
Oh,
season.
wow. He's 36, 37?
Yeah.
Okay.
He came on
Yes, a
very
short-term
late.
deal, probably, yeah.
Oh,
How
wait,
about
no, it
that?
says he's, oh, yeah,
He just
37. He debuted at
he'll
age
be
30.
37. Yep. How about that?
So, and he had a good ERA in Arizona, not so much in Texas, but I think that's a
I
guy
wouldn't
that you
hate
could
that
get
move.
relatively cheap.
Yeah.
You would never have too
my
much
brain
starter
went to Chris
depth.
Bassett for some reason before you said Merrill Kelly's
Bassett's
name.
going to get more money. He's
You
going to
think
get
so?
more money.
He's older
Yeah.
too, though.
But look what he did
Yeah.
contribute to a playoff team
True.
this year.
True.
And you can poise that to a team and be like, well, if starting doesn't work out, look what I did out of the bullpen. That's worth like 10 mil a year on top by itself. So
I think there's a lot of people who want them to shed money to help make other moves. So they want to see if, hey, can you trade Nick and only get rid of 15 of the 20, and you're only paying a little bit less. But the one thing I would caution is I would not be in a rush to move on from Taijuan Walker. And
no.
The main reason is like he proved his value last season. He went back and forth between the bullpen and starting rotation every single time they had an issue in the rotation, and his numbers still ended up pretty good at the end of the season. I think
it
that
was a win and a half
season 2 years ago,
or something like that.
2 years ago, that season, he proved last year that was an anomaly and not who he was now, right? So that is the anomaly was 2 seasons ago. That's not who Taijuan Walker will be forever. And I think that, 34 appearances, 21 starts, a win and a half WAR, like that's almost a complete opposite of what he did the year before because he was worth negative 1.6.
Oh, he was so bad. He was so bad.
An incredible turnaround for a guy. And like, I know that quality starting pitching is important, but starting pitching depth is one of the most important things
is very
in
important.
baseball. And it's the thing that every team needs. The Braves would not have been as bad last year if they had starting pitching depth. Mm-hmm. The Dodgers do not win the World Series if they don't have starting pitching depth.
Orioles.
The Rays, all of their depth is bullpen. They've run out of all of their starters because they're all in.
Look at the World Series winning Dodgers. Guess what? Their bullpen sucked, but guess what they had? A ton of starting pitching depth, which they used as relievers.
Exactly. And I mean they're so good. They're talking about moving on from Tony Gonsolin and already traded Dustin May, 2 guys who looked like they were going to be future stalwarts
May
of that
looked
rotation.
Good with Boston.
Yeah. So that was a nice little move for them. But all of that is to say, like, don't be surprised if the moves are a reshuffling and what feels like a minor move turning into a major move, right? Like if you trade somebody who's just not in the right situation or not being used the right way, there's so many different things that could happen that if they don't sign Kyle Tucker or Pete Alonso and just re-sign Schwarber and JT and hope for the best with a few 1-year deals again, it's not the end of the world. Everybody felt like it was going to be the end of the world the last 2 seasons. There are things that need to change, but it is a very long season and they have gotten better every regular season. They need to figure out what kind of mojo they need going into the postseason. I'm not saying ignore the season. The season is part of the adventure. It's what sets you up for it, but don't allow the fact that X team signs Kyle Tucker and the Phillies should have, or so-and-so, they cut Castellanos and he has a hot April or whatever, like whatever the case, don't let that deter you from what could be a pretty significant move this offseason. Again, Jesus Luzardo was the best move on the docket last year, and no one thought that at the time. It was more question marks at the time than it was guarantees, and that guy is going to be a part of your future, likely going to get a contract offer in this spring training.
And so far, one of the best moves that have been made in this window of Phillies baseball has been the trade for Edmundo Sosa.
Yeah.
Jojo Romero for Edmundo Sosa. Nobody thought that was going to be an impactful trade, but he's been a great utility infielder and your best first guy off the bench, and he mashes lefties too. So don't be surprised if somebody like that comes along this year. Now, granted,
Otto Kemp.
A lot of people
he could be a guy like that.
He could be. It could be Justin Crawford proving the team wrong. I still think he's
Right.
going to be like a guy that hits like 290. Maybe he doesn't have the pop, and it's around 700 OPS. But you know what? There's value there. You
If
don't
he hits
have
280,
to be.
plays strong defense, and gets on base at like a 340 clip at the bottom of the lineup, that's
He
a
might-
dream come true.
I do
That's a
think he's going
dream
to be
come
more
true.
average defense, but I
But
don't think
solid defense even. Like there's,
Yeah,
I mean, you had a decade of question marks out there.
no, I know.
I'll take a guy who's solid and cost
so
controlled
you know what?
for the next 5 years.
I
or
have
whatever.
one thing to say about Justin Crawford, because I've heard this discourse a little bit about that. The Phillies adamant they didn't want to trade him, but they also didn't play him. And I'm like, wait, so what's going on here? I have something to say a little bit on that, because
Okay. Floor is yours.
Justin Crawford was in a trade package that the Phillies thought that a certain team was going to accept. The Chicago White Sox for Garrett Crochet. That was almost a done deal
I
with
forgot he was in
Justin
that.
Crawford and Aiden Miller in the same trade package. And the White Sox said no, even though the Phillies thought they were going to say yes. And I think it was indicated to them that, yeah, this is the trade we want. So other teams wanted him. There's value there. And the only reason he didn't get called up this year is because everything was going on right before the trade deadline. They addressed it by getting Bader. Granted, it was like 2 weeks until they figured out to actually get Bader into games. But they wanted Crawford to play every day. And with how the outfield was already crowded with the addition of Harrison Bader, there just was no room to get him that everyday playing time without squeezing out somebody like Brandon Marsh, like Bader, like Castellanos, who already was kind of making a fuss about his playing time. And you didn't want to make that a bigger distraction than it already was. So there was not a good moment post-trade deadline for the Phillies to call up Justin Crawford. So
I agree.
Will probably break camp as a starting outfielder, as long as he doesn't fall on his face and lose more teeth because Otto Kemp crashes into him again. I think he's a starting outfielder on this squad this year. Whether it's a corner spot or center, we'll see.
And the last thing I want to say about Crawford is that please remember that if he does get that job and it's middle of May, late May, and he's hitting like 195, that does not mean that Justin Crawford was a failure of a pick, a failure of development by the front office, a terrible experiment to try by the front office, that Dave Dombrowski failed the Phillies once again. He is going to be 22 years old next year. 22. There's not a whole lot of 22-year-olds coming out like gangbusters. And if they are special, special guys who you make. I mean, Fernando Tatis did it, and nobody even saw that coming. At one point, he was traded for James Shields straight up. Like, these guys are ready when they're ready. So if next season he doesn't appear ready, that doesn't mean the Justin Crawford experiment is done. It just means he might need a little bit more seasoning. He might need a little bit more development. He might need whatever the case is. I just don't want people to kill the front office and this kid if he's not hitting 330 like he did at AAA.
And who was the last Phillies player to start at that age for a team? I'm trying to look and just see into recent history. I think. Oh wait, went
the youngest
the wrong way.
position player.
2015, maybe Michael Franco. Yeah, but he played 80 games. But I think he's the last kind of 22-year-old to really have a starting job with the Phillies.
Man, the Franco Cesar Hernandez years.
Well, he hit 280
Freddie
that
Galvis.
year. He hit 280 with 14 home runs in 80 games. Michael Franco.
Everybody was really excited after that. He looked like it. He looked like he was going to be the man. But
also, Cesar was good. I like Cesar.
Yes, he was. But yeah, obviously a lot to figure out for the Phillies. Outfield is going to be the priority, it seems, but plenty of moves to be made, despite the fact that they were once again a playoff team and a division winner. Could be a whole new look Phillies. The way that you can keep track is follow us here. Alec is there at Costaval on base. I'm here at Kyle Fisher45 on all socials. You can follow at Philadelphia SN on Twitter to get all of our latest writings for Metro's Philly Sports Network. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to SportsTown. Appreciate you guys hopping in the comments. Obviously, we appreciate Dan for joining us. If you haven't checked it out, check it out at SportsTown Show on all socials. We will be back next week with another episode of Alley Talk. 2 p.m. Friday. If there are any schedule changes, sometimes we have to change the time due to daily meetings and such. If there is something, be locked into my Twitter and the main Twitter account to make sure that you get the latest and greatest. But plan on being back here with us because I'll be here waiting for you, talking all things Phillies here at 2 o'clock. Alec, great show as always, man. Appreciate you joining in. And if you're able to next week, obviously, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, and I just want to say Dan's show is excellent. Like the production is top notch. Like it is not an exaggeration. Like, I say it. The Travel Channel is still Netflix a thing. It should be a show kidding. On the Travel Channel.
Yeah, dude. It's like, and again, it's. I'm always worried that it sounds weird coming from me because the first thing I say is that I've known these guys since college. But Alec, who doesn't know them, is here to tell you this thing is a high quality show. So make sure you give it a shot. It's basically really well curating the perfect guys weekend. To go to these various towns. To me, that's all you could ask for out of a sports travel show. So great work by them. Great work by you, Alec, as always. And great work by Alex and the people in the comments. We love you. That's what we're here to do. We're here to have the show that you guys want to have. So love it. Hop in the comments. Let us know how you felt about today's show. Let us know and let the SportsTown folks know what you think about their show. And make sure you are locked in here next week to tell me how you feel about Phillies baseball. We appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And we are here to love the game of baseball. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.
See you next